first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to sit down and chat with me.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out.
It's always still a little bit surreal having been a consumer of games media for so long, now being on the end of, going out and actually talking with people. So it's pretty neat. So thank you for that.
It's awesome. No, I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for reaching out.
So yeah, I know I sent you this whole list of our preordained discussion topics, and there's just those couple little icebreakers at the beginning that I thought we could get out of the way just to dip our feet in. So on that note, if we'll just get rolling right here, right now, what are you listening to right now?
I am going back. I'm going back and re-listening to the Adventure Zone from episode 1 because it was such a great ride. So I'm doing it again.
That's one that I know friends have told me about, but I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and listen to it myself.
I get so excited for people that haven't listened to it yet because it's such a great experience. Oh my God, it's incredible.
I will have to add that to my very long list of audio content I still need to work through.
I would bump it to the top, dear sir. I would bump it to the top.
Now I guess I have to. Now, I know you are not originally from the Southern California area.
I am not.
So, in your mind, is it soda or pop?
Soda. I think pop is like a east of the Mississippi thing. Is that right?
That's what I thought, because I had never heard anybody call it pop until I went to Kentucky for school, and everybody called it pop. And then some people just called every soda Coke, and that was equally weird.
Yeah.
It was a strange anthropological experience, but yeah. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Whew.
So then on that same kind of preference kind of idea, are you a milk chocolate or a dark chocolate kind of person?
I mean, I like milk chocolate because it tastes better, but dark chocolate I know is better for me. So, if there is such a thing as better for you chocolate.
Right.
So I'm going to go political and not answer that in any way, shape, or form. We'll leave it ambiguous.
Well, that's, I think, really all we need to know about Cissy Jones as a person. A brief encapsulation, yeah. But no, we have so many more things to talk about, lots of which I'm hoping that most of this is not backtracking over things that a million other people have asked you, but I know inevitably we'll come across things like that. But I wanted to kind of start with a discussion of acting craft or voice acting craft before we really got into roles you've done and games you've been in, all that sort of thing.
Cool.
I thought it would be interesting to get your kind of thoughts on that, since you have such a expansive What's the game equivalent of a filmography? I realized I was going to use the term filmography, but gameography?
Sure. Why not?
Voiceography?
Let's go gameography. Why not?
Yeah. So this has always been kind of a thing that's puzzled me. Given that there's so many of these kind of acting methods that you hear about, Meisner, Chekhov, Udahagen, whatever, and a lot of them kind of rely on this idea of reacting to the performances of your fellow performers, but I know that that's not usually a situation that many voice actors find themselves in.
No.
That seems to be the exception, not the rule, that you'd end up in the booth with the other people that you're performing with.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the fact that oftentimes you're not there with your fellow performers? How does that affect, figuring out those characters?
It's all in my noodle, man. No, I mean, it's my job to go in with a fully fleshed out idea of who the character is if I'm given information ahead of time, and really pay attention to what my director says. Mm-hmm. There have been 2 games where I have actually gotten to work off of my scene partner, which were Firewatch and Batman Arkham Knight. It's such a great experience, but like you said, it is super, super rare. So when I walk in as a solo performer, I am at the whim of my own imagination and the knowledge of the director, the working knowledge of the game.
Well, I'm going to jump then to a question that's actually further down the list because you prompted it. So you did have the chance, you and Rich were in the studio together, or were you communicating via phone or?
Yeah, so I was here in my home studio and he was in his home studio, and Sean Vanneman Skyped us in together much like this, and we recorded the conversations. And that was literally how it happened. Right.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember playing that through, I think very close to when it actually released. And I and the guy I was playing it with, we were recording it for our own kind of purposes. And we were both really struck with the chemistry that you and Rich had. And so that always has been puzzling me of they must have been, maybe if not in the room together, they had to have been having some sort of personal communication, because this is amazing.
Well, thank you. And Sean had the great idea of doing that. And the cool thing is, Rich and I live like a mile apart from each other in Los Angeles. We'd never met. I'd never really seen Mad Men, so I didn't really know anything about him. And we recorded the game chronologically. So that first scene where they're like awkwardly getting to know each other was literally our first conversation.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I immediately think, when I think of Rich, I think of those like 2 episodes of The Office that he's on.
I didn't even know he was on The Office.
Yeah, he plays one of Jenna Fisher's art school friends when she goes to New York to...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, he's so great. He's such a talented actor. I learned so much working with him. He's so incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and it does really show when you go through the whole thing and all the performances that you guys did. I could spend this whole time gushing about Firewatch, but I'm not going to, because we've got other stuff to talk about. So going back a little bit to the idea of craft and, stepping foot into the studio, have you found that you enjoy any particular acting method? Or I know you said it's, a lot of it is just the knowledge that's in your head. So do you feel like finding these characters and discovering these people is more of a matter of intuition, or is there any sort of acting method that you subscribe to, or a combination of methods?
Well, I don't come from an acting background, so I haven't really had a lot of time to dig into the various methods. For me, it's something that just kind of, like you said, intuits itself into my brain, and
yeah.
I'm able to understand the character and what kind of approach they want, again, based on the working knowledge the director has of the game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't subscribe to a particular method other than be the person.
Right. No, I mean, I totally get that, because that was always my thing when I was, doing shows in high school or college or whatever, of just being like, well, you just have to make this person seem like a real person. Like, people are people. Yeah.
I have an acting coach who I love, named Richard Horowitz, and he always says, "You are enough because you are human." And that to me is something I take a lot. Even if it's not an experience I've ever been through, as an actor, I find that we tend to be fairly empathetic people, and you can certainly empathize with where a character is coming from in given situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do you unwind or relax when you get out of a session? Because that's always also been interesting to me, because all the actors I know, everybody's got some different thing of what they do once a show is over or a recording session is over.
I mean, it just depends. If it's super heavy, like, recording on The Walking Dead was really, really heavy. And very emotionally taxing. And so I would usually meet up with my friends afterwards for a drink or dinner or something, or, hang out with my husband and just talk it out. Something that's a little more lighthearted, like there's an Amazon show that I'm on called Little Big Awesome. It was just super fun and silly. And so I was just always on such a high every time I left those sessions.
Right.
So I think it's just different for every single one. Yeah. If I've just been killed in a manner of ways, I might need to sequester myself for a hot minute and chill out for a little bit.
Yeah. So was voice acting always the dream, or were there other things, when you were young? What other avenues were there to consider?
The funny thing is I always wanted to be a voice on a cartoon, specifically The Simpsons, but I thought you just had to be famous and live in Hollywood. Like, I didn't know it was even called voice acting. Right. So for a while, I pursued marine biology. And then,
oh, that's cool.
And then I realized I was terrible at chemistry and physics. And then I got a business degree and worked in the Silicon Valley for 10 years before changing careers. And I had been talking with my husband about my dream job and working on The Simpsons and how fun it seemed. And like 2 weeks after we had that conversation, I heard Nancy Cartwright, who's Bart Simpson, on the radio promoting the movie, talking about a voiceover school an hour away from me. And it just seemed like kismet. So I got on the horn that day and started taking classes that week. And 2 years later, I had an agent and quit my fancy Silicon Valley job. And here we are.
It does seem like it's kind of few and far between people that go out and, they break into it right on the first try.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's always cool to hear stories like that of how you got where you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all the craft work questions that I had. So if we can work through this terrible segue to talking about the roles that you've done.
Yes.
This was one when I was doing, research on things that I could talk to you about and things that I could ask you about. I know that IMDb is not necessarily the best metric of performances for voice actors, because I know that sometimes I'll go see that there are video games on there that don't have all the actors listed or whatever. People that I know have been in stuff that aren't listed on IMDb. But there's a lot in there, at least of your IMDb credits, of things that are additional voices, things like Grand Theft Auto, World of Warcraft, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And this was, as I was looking through the list, I was thinking about, well, that's really interesting, because I hadn't necessarily thought about that whole, like, obviously I knew that people were going in and recording, the pedestrians on the street.
Right.
But much like an ensemble in a theatrical show or the extras in a live action television program, that's, those people are the ones that make or break the reality of the world, I guess. Like the believability of it.
Right.
And so with these additional voices that you go in and record for video games, how do those gigs usually come about? Is it like a cattle call thing that whoever's recording all the dialogue says, hey, we need, X amount of people to be people on the street?
Yeah, sometimes. For me, it was a great way to break into the games industry when I moved to Los Angeles, because when I lived in San Francisco, I kind of booked right out the gate, but then moving here was a different story. And so, you start seeing these auditions from your agent where it's pretty simple lines like, hey, watch out, move it, buddy. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. But then they want you to do it in three wholly different characters, so that they know that you can do three completely different characters for background chatter, and not have someone playing the game be like, wait, wasn't that cop number 3 back there? Mm-hmm. So I started seeing those auditions and started getting called in for the sessions. And then, once you go in enough and they know that you're reliable, then they'll call you in without auditions, or they start giving you named characters, right? So that's the goal ultimately. But it's a great way to break into games as a new actor. Right. Yeah.
So was there, on any of those titles where you've been additional voices, is there any particular bit of dialogue that still sticks with you or that you remember fondly?
No. I would have to say, honestly, this sounds so crazy, but my superpower is forgetting about auditions and sessions, with exception of Firewatch, I will always remember, and Darksiders and things like that. But no, additional voices, you just let it go. You just have to I get people all the time like, hey, are you in whatever on Twitter? And I'm like, no. And then they'll send me the clip of me talking, and I'm like, well, that's my voice, but I don't remember saying those words. So okay.
Yeah, I figured. I just didn't know if, every once in a while, sometimes I'll be sitting around thinking and a line will pop into from some show that I did years ago, and I'm like, well, why am I thinking about that? Moving on to, like you said, named characters. This is another thing that's always interested me about the voice acting world. So taking a character like Commander Sloan in Destiny 2, who has kind of she's got that place that she is in the world, and players come and interact with her. And if you're just kind of standing around, there's a lot of kind of idle dialogue that she will, say. And if you're around, you might hear it. Mm-hmm. Is there ever, for characters like that, is there ever any amount of improvisation in the studio, or is all that pretty scripted out?
It's pretty scripted out. Every now and then they'll be like, this line isn't working. Do you have any ideas? And, you can riff from there. But for the most part, it's all, by the time it gets to me, the writers have gone through it so thoroughly that they have a pretty good idea of what they want. Yeah. And I don't want to come in and jack it all up for them.
Yeah. I know that, I think you posted on Twitter either around the release of Destiny 2 or sometime after it, that Bungie had sent you this, all this Destiny 2 merch branded, Destiny PlayStation or whatever. Yeah. Do you play that in your off time, or is it just kind of sitting on your shelf?
No, I actually gave it to charity. But I am a bad, terrible, horrible gamer. And the reason for that is because I learned to play games on the old school NES system with the flat paddles.
Right.
But I learned to play, instead of with my thumbs, I learned to play with my finger and my forefinger so that I could run real fast and then jump and still have his little legs running in the air because I thought it was funny. And then when the new paddles came out and they were all like thumbs, I freaked out and haven't really touched a controller since.
Well, that's cool that that big branded PlayStation went to charity, because I always wonder that when I see, you have so much just stuff that in your house that just accumulates. But
yeah, no, I had a really cool conversation with Bungie, and they were really excited about doing some stuff for charity. And so I think there's going to be, well, I don't want to say for them, but there were a bunch of us that were very eager to go that route and to help it, get stuff out there for charity.
Yeah. Now, along this line, I guess, of games and playing games, I know that from my own experience and from the experience of friends, lots of times people don't necessarily want to partake of the media that they have been in. So for games that you have been in, do you ever go back and play those, or is it just kind of, one and done? I
have learned to make peace with listening to the sound of my voice. So I'll watch playthroughs and things like that. And I am constantly picking apart my acting choices, but I don't mind watching them. It's because a lot of times, because we record in such a vacuum, I don't actually know what the scene is. And so it's really cool to go and see how it all came together. Like with Batman Arkham Knight, I got to record in a booth with Maurice LaMarche, who's like a massive childhood hero of mine, right? And, so I'll go back and watch stuff like that. But, I'm not going to go through hours and hours and hours of Grand Theft Auto 5 to try to find my random prostitute. Yeah. It's like, oh, look, there it is. There she is. You lit her on fire and threw her out a window. Great. Yeah. Well, that was, it's one of those odd things of I or a friend of mine may have run you over at some period in the past. But, that is entirely possible. Yes. It's very likely. So many times. So, well, this then, do you, because I know you guys are recording in a vacuum, do they show you concept art, or is there like any sort of previs that you usually get to see just to get images in your head? Not often. I mean, with The Walking Dead, we got to see concept art for the main characters. So I knew kind of what Katya was going to look like, and Clementine and stuff like that. But that was just for the audition. And then for Firewatch, they had released a couple of screenshots of Ollie's work, and I was familiar with Ollie's work, and so I knew the kind of aesthetic it was going to be. But yeah, more often than not, no. We show up and we have a piece of paper with black and white letters on it, and we go. Like, usually there's not much to go on. Yeah. And especially probably, I guess, with Delilah, because she never is seen. Spoiler alert, dude. Oh, no. We'll have to bleep that out. So how long has Firewatch been out? It's been 2 years. A while. Yeah, no, I know. If you haven't played Firewatch yet, go play Firewatch. Yeah, seriously. Why are you listening to this? Firewatch was that was definitely fun, but knowing the mood, if you will, of the game really helps set the tone of it. Just from Ollie's incredible artwork and being familiar with Chris's music and stuff like that helped understand the tone of it for sure. Yeah. There was, I will mention one moment in the playthrough where Henry has to go out and deal with the girls who were setting off fireworks at the lake. And we took the option of confiscating their cassette player. And just as a matter of let's see, can we take this all the way back to the tower with us? And that's when we discovered that I guess only got the one song on the cassette. Because it was like a 10-minute walk back to the tower, and it was just, this funky little jam the whole time. But I think that Delilah commented on it, because she and Henry are still conversing in between it, and I can't remember if at one point, Delilah has what's that sound in the background or something? I don't remember. She's very quippy. Let's keep gushing about Firewatch. Now let's move on. So, no, my next question is a question about Firewatch. Never mind. Okay. So, when you were hired by Campo Santo to do Firewatch, did you think it would achieve this kind of critical acclaim that it did? I knew it was going to be special because Sean and Jake were involved. And then I started to see Ollie's artwork and Chris's music and, get to know Jane. And when they brought Rich on board, like I knew it was going to be special. Mm-hmm. I had no idea it was going to go the way that it did.
Right.
It was so nerve-wracking. For me, I can't even imagine what it was like for them. But, I'd never been a lead in a game before. And so I was so nervous the night before it came out. I don't think I ate anything. I was super nauseous. I didn't sleep. And then around like 4 o'clock in the morning, my Twitter just started going bananas. Mm-hmm. And it was really insane and overwhelming and joyful. And I was just so happy for everyone involved because everybody put their heart and soul into it, So to have people love it and hate it, but people were talking about it. Mm-hmm. It was really incredible. Just absolutely unbelievably incredible.
And then you won a BAFTA.
Oh, geez.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure that's not a random dream sequence of mine.
Right. Well, now I already asked the next Firewatch question, so I think we can move on to... yes, we can move on. Look at that. So with this kind of, the wild success of things like The Walking Dead, Firewatch, things like Life is Strange, Darksiders, do you find yourself getting recognized out in the public, or do you still have that kind of anonymity of being a voice actress that you can still live like a normal life?
I have all the anonymity, and I love it. It's great. I mean, I just went to E3 with... I was walking around with Courtney Taylor and Ashley Birch and a couple of other people, and they, Ashley is so recognizable because of her web series and mm-hmm. all the work that she's done, and she's just so incredible. She was getting stopped every 3 feet. I mean, it was really funny. And Courtney the same. Everybody knows her from Fallout 4 and Mass Effect and everything. And I just kind of got to skate on by. Not that I don't love talking with fans and stuff like that. I do, but there's something about being out and going about my business. But yeah, people don't recognize me at all, and it's great. And if they do, it's great, and if they don't, it's great. I just you don't get into voiceover to be famous. You get into voiceover because you love the work, and so it's nice to be able to do the work and still go out with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't get into voiceover to be famous. I got into it because I love the work, and I'm super happy with how it's going.
So on that kind of theme of getting into it because you love the work, how has it felt to see such a positive response to the announcement that you're going to be Fury in the next Darksiders game? It's
great. I'm so excited for it. I fought for that role. I'm really, really proud of it, and I'm really happy that people are psyched about it. It's a lot of pressure, mm-hmm. So I'm hoping it lives up, and I think it will. I mean, we've had some really, really good times in the booth, and I think people are going to really love it. But yeah, it's been great. I fought like hell for that role, and I'm so glad to see the response being so good to it.
Yeah. Now, were you familiar at all with the brand before? I know you said you had that first audition for I think it was like the E3 trailer, the announcement trailer or something.
Yeah, the
and
launch
then you
trailer.
Went on. Yeah. Were you familiar at all with Darksiders before that?
I wasn't, but I went on a research binge and learned everything that I could about it. And I just think it's awesome. I mean, what a great property.
Yeah, that was it was interesting because we were just well, I guess not just. It was back in November, but we were in Austin in November shooting a documentary about Darksiders 1 and 2. And so, yeah, it was neat because we're like, oh, Cissy Jones is in the next one. We should talk to her. The research that you've done, how does it feel to be, in this legacy that includes, like Liam O'Brien and Mark Hamill, amongst others?
I mean, it's awesome. I've worked with both of them before. Liam I know on a personal level. I haven't met Mark, but we both worked on a game called Let It Die. Mm-hmm. And, it's fun. It's just so cool. It's just such a cool business.
That's the thing that I've noticed from talking to games developers over about the past year or so. It's just that it does really seem like a really cool group of people. Like I've never met a developer or a voice actor or a composer so far that doesn't just seem like a really cool, genuine person. And that's been really cool. I love
this community. I love voice actors. I love the directors. I love the game devs. You would think in the quote-unquote entertainment industry, it would just be rife with pardon my French, but assholes. And I've probably met 5 assholes in my entire time here in this community, which is, it's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, that is a good number.
So, it's such a supportive, incredible group of people all the way around. I mean, from start to finish and back again. I can't say enough good things about the people in this segment of the industry. They're just incredible.
Well, so with kind of, going and seeking out a role like Fury after doing the announcement trailer, have you found that you've found more of an affinity for that character since you, like you said, you really fought for it? Or has it just kind of, she's just another really cool character? No,
I really want her to be memorable. I really want her to be someone that people root for, because I root for her, and I rooted for her from the very beginning, from that first trailer of, 4 words. It was like, let's do this, and it just makes it that much more personal. So yeah, absolutely. I can also say, like, the willingness of Gunfire Games to let me be a part of all of this now. Usually when you're in a game, you are not allowed to say a peep until the game is out, and then you might make a tweet about it. You know what I mean? But Gunfire's been like, let's get you involved in all of this, and let's talk about it, and let's make sure people know it's you. And to have that kind of backing from a dev is it's only ever happened for me with Firewatch and Adrift, and so to be able to talk about it and have them excited about me being involved makes me more excited about being involved with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you been to Gunfire yet?
I haven't. No,
okay.
I was hoping to get to South by Southwest this year, but it didn't happen. So maybe next year.
Well, when you get there, you have to get Dave or John or somebody to get you a Darksiders 3 T-shirt, because it is the comfiest T-shirt in my wardrobe right now.
Oh, I want all the swag.
They gave us T-shirts up before we left. I'm like, I don't know what you made this out of, but it's amazing.
You know what I just realized, literally just now, is that this might be the first character that gets an action figure, because I'm normally disembodied. If you look at my work, I am normally disembodied, and so I might actually get an action character out of this.
Walking Dead Funko Pops or something?
Yeah, but my characters were smaller. Yeah, I guess they had bodies, but like, Delilah and...
Yeah, there's no Delilah action figure. It's just an empty box. So I know you said The Simpsons has always been this kind of thing that you've aspired to be on, but who is this one person or persons or property that you haven't worked with or been involved with yet? Perhaps it's The Simpsons that you would like to be in the future.
All of them?
Everything.
I want to be involved in all the things?
Yeah.
I want to see a female James Bond. I really want to see a female
really
James Bond,
cool.
and I want to play the lead.
Well, that about wraps up everything that I had planned.
I love it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, thank you again, really, for agreeing to sit down with a relative nobody like me to chat about craft and video games and all that kind of stuff.
I will say to you, you are enough because you are human, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to put that on my wall.
There you go. With a little kitten hanging in.
With a little attribution.
No, thank you so much for reaching out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, and I look forward to playing Darksiders in November. I should know. I think it's November.
Yeah.
We think it's November.
You think it's November?
Graphics will be on the screen. Well, we'll formally wrap this up right about now.
Awesome.